welcome to Loops and Scoops, which we named a couple of years ago. We've been doing this now for over 2 years, and I so enjoy gathering our community and welcoming new people. If this is your first time here, welcome. What we're up to is shifting from fear to love through presence. And I think of presence and love as pretty much the same thing, is that love is being able to be in the same space with. So just take a moment right now and feel into anything that you've been trying to push away or jump over or get rid of or improve, and notice the act of kind of not being with it, the particular way that you're not being with. So it could be pushing through, it could be jumping over, it could be ignoring. But what if you could just be with that the way that you would be with a friend on a swing, just being with that? And notice that presence doesn't require you to do anything, which is one thing I love about presence, is that I can be with, and then out of being with, new choices and new actions can emerge. One function of loop of awareness is to allow you to receive the nourishment of attention. So presence is so connected to the way that we use our attention. And for most people, they don't really know that they have choice about how they use their attention. And one of the big ways that you can create choice is by learning how to shift your attention from inside you to outside there, and to inside you and to outside there. So before I give you any kind of specific directions, because I have a certain thing I want to play with today, I would like you to just notice, how do you shift your attention from giving attention to you to giving attention to outside of you? How is that for you right now? What are the rhythms of how you give attention? Do you have a rhythm? If you had a rhythm, what might it be? And so just tune into that. And I'm going to do that for a moment and notice how I'm shifting my attention today. One of the things I'm noticing is that I'm grounded here, but there's this kind of want to check out there. It's, I drop in here and then I got to check out there. So it has a little bit of a franticness. So I can feel there's just a little bit of fear attached to it, like a little bit of what's going to happen next. So notice when you shift your attention, are you actually choosing to shift your attention? Or are you waiting for something to get your attention from out there? Because that, by the way, is what advertising is all about, is getting your attention. So there are lots of processes, lots of people, lots of structures that want to capture your attention. So I've found that giving myself attention is more challenging, because the default is to let your attention be out there. So let yourself practice for just 30 seconds or a minute of, okay, attention out there and attention back here. So that I like to use my hands just to help me to realize, okay, where is my attention? Is mostly out there. And let your hand kind of illustrate how you're using your attention. You could be sort of grabbing, or you could be pushing through. And then when you come back to you, notice, use your hand to illustrate the energetics of how you're bringing attention to yourself. So there may be also a rhythm, because we're looking at time today. So that includes beats and rhythms and pace. So if you were to give yourself like a musical score, how much of your musical score is in here and how much of it's out there. So you can even go to dun 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 bum 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 bum. So let yourself play a little bit with the rhythm of how you are shifting your attention. And you can use your hands if you like. You can use sounds if you like, because you're all muted, so you can make as much noise as you want to. I find that using my different senses really amplifies for me, how am I using my attention? Curious attention is incredibly nourishing. Critical attention, not so much. So as you're letting your attention shift, I'd like you to notice, is it more curious or is it more critical? And these are some things that you can check into kind of on a periodic basis, because you can shift your critical attention into curious attention with the that's very reliable to shift you into your wonder brain. So if you're finding yourself being critical or judgmental, try adding a floating your attention out with a and floating your attention in with a Just even doing that, what I notice is that I get more leisurely in time. One of the most healthy practices that we can develop for ourselves is spreading out into time rather than being in time urgency. So imagine, so mostly time is like, come on, hurry up. And notice that that's probably the default position for your attention. Like, okay, what have I missed? What have I got? Oh, now what have I got to pay attention to now? What's next? And just notice how that disrupts your sense of presence. So just do that for like 10 seconds so that you don't, just give yourself a taste of it. You don't dunk into it. Just that kind of that society runs on adrenaline. That's a choice. We don't have to be doing that. The more leisurely I've gotten in time, the more effective I've gotten. It's what in Zen they call hurry slowly, that we can actually, when we're fully present, time becomes very malleable. So I want to invite you, last week we were playing with weight and how much our having lightness or strength really gives impact to our attention. So this week I want to experiment with time. And time, by the way, is a completely made up construct. Clock time, we made it up. And now we're the slaves of it. So let's make up time in a new way. That time is about choosing to spread out into the leisureliness of ongoing choices. And quick is being able to just move your attention from one thing to another with a kind of quickness that you choose. But what I want to focus on, because you already know how to do that, and it's probably all tied up with some adrenaline, I want to focus on the various ways you can spread out into time. So one of them is, I'd like you to shift your awareness, and I'd like you to notice if you're like shift it to choose something you're going to shift your awareness to that's outside. Like I'm choosing this great, I have this little plant over here that's quite lovely. And so I'm going to shift my awareness over there. But usually we would just go, boom, like we toss it and not notice the journey. So what I'd like you to do is to let your awareness be with you kind of in slow motion as you're moving your attention to land on that thing you've chosen. So you're doing that right with There's this wonderful little video that I've seen on social media that is of two cats. There's a black and white cat, and they're going down the street together, and they're completely intertwined, even have their tails intertwined. One of them is sighted and one of them is blind. And they're just grooving on down the road because they're right with each other. I'd like you to let your presence and your attention be right with each other, so that as you're shifting, you're having that journey and you're landing. And then when you land, invite yourself to just pause and spread out into noticing. Like, I'm noticing the shape of the plant, the various leaves, and some of them have got more pink and some of them have got more green. And I'm just spreading out to take that all in. That's being leisurely in time. And now I'd like you to bring your attention back. It's like you're zip lining. If you're zip lining, you want your attention right where you are. So let yourself zip line back into you and let yourself land. I landed right in my diaphragm. And let yourself spread out into letting your attention swirl around and spread out. Also as if you were a tree that you're lying under, and you're just feeling the sun coming down, and you're noticing all of your sensations of the nourishment of all of that. That's the nourishment of letting yourself. It's not so much slowing down as spreading out. It's going from that urgency into leisureliness with your sense of time. Mostly we use our sense of presence very quickly, and then we're always catching up with it. So I noticed, and the reason that I fell off of my bike several years ago was that I was just slightly out in front of myself, just slightly. It was just, I could measure. It was like that much. That was enough to have my wheel turn, boom, fell off, snapped. So a little bit of wrong timing makes a big difference. I want to invite you to play with, it's kind of almost like slow motion basketball. When you're aiming for that hoop, when you see the slow motion replay and everybody's waiting to see if it goes in, but you can't get out ahead of it because that's right where it is and it hasn't landed yet. So imagine your attention, that you've launched it and you're being right with it and you're seeing where it lands out there. And then you're enjoying the landing, the reverberation of that. And then you let that come back to you. Basketball, or like the basketball machine goes boing, and it's sending it back over to you. And let yourself notice where it lands in you. And that rhythm of, it has a breath rhythm to it also, that you can pause. All of the different things that you can play with that allow your attention to spread out in time and to be right with yourself. That's what I want to invite you to do. And I'd like you to, as we're coming to ending today, I'd like you to gather in some of that leisureliness, scoop in some love scoops, and give it to any place in you that's feeling speedy. When I get speedy, I usually feel it kind of behind my ears. There's a little bit of just sort of gripping. So I'm going to give some love scoops back there. You might feel it in your shoulders because you're experiencing all that speediness as a burden. So give some love scoops to your shoulders. You might be feeling kind of breathless from all the demands and all the things that are pulling on you. So pull in some presence and attention and give that to your diaphragm to your chest, to your belly. And I always like to give some to my back, highly neglected and not attended to too much. So feeling where in your back that's been backing you up all this time, you can give some love scoops. Choosing. What we're up to is choosing. And when you choose your attention and you choose to give and receive, you can be so refreshed. So just take a moment and notice kind of the quality of your energy, how that's moving around in you. I feel mine feels much more wavy and more like a stream, a flowing stream. Yeah. So when you find yourself getting, this would be a great thing to remember. Your inner basketball kind of into leisureliness. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to exit and leave you to play with each other as long as you want to. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
Yay. Thank you, Katie.